What's going to be How's It Hanging? How's It Happening? You guys know this is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast, sponsored by Dark Fusion Systems, the best for your custom computer needs, whether you custom computer for gaming, streaming, creative, art, music, business. They will build the best custom PC for you. Get $100 off your entire bill. Use code CPPOD at darkfusionsystems.com. Link to the podcast below. Thank you guys. Also, be sure to hit that subscribe button to us in the podcast because you don't want to miss out on this. But now time for feature presentation. We're going to go down to Australia for some more great heavy music. We have Jake from the band In Heart's Wake on the podcast. We dive deep in the brand new album Incarnation, which comes out on July 12th. We talk about how the loss of Kyle from the band, their longtime bassist, allowed this to be a transitional piece for them to really rediscover themselves, to create something new with what they had, which is going to be something that's heavier, a lot crazier. We dive deep into the creation of it overall, how the album came to be from a couple of basements in the state of Michigan, and why the final song on the lit track, Transmission, is the one that Jake is most proud of on this record. Are you guys ready? Let's go! Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast. Once again, when we talk about heavy music and we talk about the country of Australia, the one thing that always comes to your mind is this is going to be some high quality, great stuff that's coming out of here. And right when this band released the first single off the brand new album, Incarnation, which comes out on July 12th, I had a couple people message me that said, oh my God, this is going to be awesome. And of course, I have to agree with them. And now we get to talk to the guy who's a part of creating this whole entire thing. So please welcome Jake from the band In Heart's Wake to the podcast. So Jake, welcome to Chord Progression Podcast.
Thank you, man. This is actually my first interview for the record, so it's good to be here.
And I'm gonna take that with pride. I'm like, I got the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's go. Well, man, one thing I do want to jump right into the record because it is going to be one of those records that I think a lot of people are going to get into. There's a whole bunch to touch on. And right before the record got announced, I know at the beginning of April, you guys announced that your longtime bassist, Kyle, ended up leaving the band and you released the brand new song, Farewell, off of that. And right before we were talking about that, it's like a great like preamble or like preface into what this album is going to be, into what In Heart's Wake is going forward. So can you give us a little bit of a scoop on that, of what we can expect going forward after Kyle's departure?
Yeah, sure. Look, without rambling too much on about Kyle, like on my behalf, but like we knew about Kyle's desire to leave the band a year and a half, 2 years ago, like ages ago. So we'd already been spoken about it as a band and already experienced the shock of like, what does this mean? Like if we lose, not just a key member, but like, someone who's singing is actually a voice on In Heart's Wake and on a lot of our tracks. So the natural thing was like, well, rather than just trying to find some replacement or just like, just switch it out. Like, what's it like if we can just like forge on ahead as the solid, like, core that we are? Because, you got drums, you got guitar, you got heavy vocals, like that's sort of the foundation. And Kyle brought so much to the band, but he was always like the addition of the ornament kind of that comes on top. So that was the challenge. And like coming out with Farewell, it felt right, like because of all we've been through together, to actually create a song and a farewell track that encompassed like the reason for him leaving, rather than just having like a paragraph of like text that you get posted and like, we wish him all the best and like, we're on good terms, and you kind of like that stuff just feels almost like two lawyers, like, in a divorce settlement, just trying to be like above board. This actually felt genuine to honoring and respecting his desire, and also like allowing it to like tell a story, like letting the fans in on like what's actually going on properly. So with getting that not out of the way, but really we want to get out in front of that and have that be its own thing, not connected to the album, a preface, if you will, or at least setting the context for Incarnation, so people can understand that, stepping into what is going to be a heavy, heavy record, the term incarnation, like this is a new incarnation of the band. Like it's kind of, like you'll hear my voice and there'll be, of course, the riffs and it's In Heart's Wake, but like it really is. Sounds cheesy to say new chapter, a new era, but like it's a whole new band, essentially, discovering new parts of ourselves, and here we find ourselves sort of stepping into that now.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, especially in the metal world, really like the way you guys went about it by releasing Farewell as well, because it does give that overall, like, again, feels like closing of a chapter, closing of a history part of the band, because now you finally, it's like, okay, when it comes to Kyle, why leave band? Now it's like officially let go, but at the same time, as in done in a way that is not the text, that's not just like the full-on lawyer paragraph, but it does also allow you guys to figure out exactly what you want to do going forward, the kind of band you want to be. And I love the way that you're going about it too, where it's okay, we still have all these great members of the band. We still have all these great parts of exactly who we are. And we can, instead of like trying to recreate something new out of this, using Incarnation, like something fresh, something enticing, something new with everything that is there. It's kind of a similar situation to kind of what We Came as Romans did. And I got the huge We Came as Romans banner in the back. When after Kyle Pavone passed away, it's like they just kept going on and kept doing something that is new now for them, but at the same time, it's still all the same guys. It's still that core. So you know it's still them. It's still coming from that exact genuine place, but the exact same time, the sound is going to be something that is another chapter for the band, a brand new direction going forward of what you guys want to be. And clearly, after going through the entire track list, listening to the whole entire thing, a lot of people are loving, like, would love the heaviness that would be potentially coming on this. And I got to tell you, you guys absolutely freaking brought it with this record. My God, did you bring it?
How much have you heard of it?
I've heard the whole thing, man.
Yeah, nice, dude. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, we definitely brought it. We like it. It had to be. It had to be. How we had to go full Kilt on it. You know, there was just no other choice. It was like it was good. You know what? In some ways, like when you get, not that we were dealt a blow, but like it was just an unexpected thing. And it's like, what do you do with that? And so, in some ways, it was the shake up and the fire under us that the band actually needed to go. Well, if we're painted into a corner, what are we going to do about it? Because to just do another record, I guess in hindsight with Kyle, I'm sure it would have been like, it would have been in Heart's Wake, but it wouldn't have don't think it would have challenged us like this did. And we needed to be challenged in order to discover these parts of the band, which hadn't actually fully been colored in. Like, It's like, yeah, let's put a heavy track on the record or have a heavy breakdown. But this was like, well, we can't get bored of that doing it every track. So how can we do it differently, but still be heavy? So yeah, look, I'm really, really proud of us. It really pushed us to the nth degree, and the collaborations and the attention to detail on this one, when you are put into a corner, like it commanded just the most out of us.
Well, it just seems like, when you guys get put in a corner, anytime someone gets put into a corner about anything, it's you have to do something in order to get out of there. You have to make sure that it's going to work, and you have to give it your full effort to get out of that situation. And by putting yourselves in there, it seems like you guys had to get absolutely creative in how you wanted to perfect this, how you wanted to present this to the fans, how you wanted to create this, and then just to get out of that corner, how can we do this in so many different capacities that, when you listen to this, exactly this is going to be in Heart's Wake, but at the same time, this is going to be something that is so fresh and so incredibly raw at the exact same time that people are just going to really connect with it, given the people you worked with on this album. Because I know I saw a list of different people that are like collaborating with this, and I'm not going to give away any names because I do not want to give away any names that I shouldn't be giving away at the moment. So we can keep you all surprised when you're like, wait a minute, I know that voice. It's like, oh yeah, you do. But continuing to go forward, it just allows you to continue to build up on that creativity, but also at the same time, see things and try things that you may never have in the past, because now you are forced to, and now you are going to have to find a way to make it work. Letting the creative juices flow to get out of that place and get out of that corner. What you guys did here, you guys definitely got out of that corner, but you bursted out of that corner and really showed everybody what is possible for this band and how much more is still possible going forward.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, the collaboration part, we wanted to we intentionally didn't want to, just to touch on that, because I think people are like, who, collaboration? We intentionally didn't want these to be like leading things on and announced like, this is the track list featuring this, and this is the, that's great and exciting, and it will be great when people hear it. But we didn't want that to be any of the leading stories or leading conversations. But like, what I can say to that is Incarnation, it being like the bookend to Divination, which is a record that came out 12 years prior, which was our first full-length record, which we recorded in Michigan. And, it put at least in the metalcore scene, it put the band on the map. And it just the whole theme of the tarot cards, there was 11 tracks, 11 cards. Anyhow, to come back to it with the new incarnation, like the new In Heart's Wake, but also to touch on that story, there was some, I guess the only hint that we can sort of give is there were relationships that we established 12 years ago that we wanted to revisit and invite on this record. And look, just we can talk about the obvious collaboration is that we recorded again with Josh Schroeder in Michigan, he's incredible. Like he's hands down best person we've ever worked with. He's just he'll play in the sandpit with you like there's no tomorrow. Like, and he's just willing to just go there. So yeah, in terms of collaborations, going to be excited to hear what they are, but just some amazing people stepped up. Really grateful for those humans.
Oh, some amazing people really did step up. And one of the beautiful things that I saw in this, well, when I was going through it with the release that I got, it was like I saw the names of each song, and then there was like parentheses, and there was like another name next to it, but it was upside down. So I had to turn my head to kind of see what was going on. And then I got a little bit of like a different take on the album as well, different take on everything, seeing all those like little different connections from what you guys did back on Divination and what you guys did with the whole entire tarot card idea to essentially connect those records together. And again, it's something like you're bringing the whole new light to the band, a whole new world to the band going forward with your sound now, but also bringing it close to another chapter as well from what you guys were doing back 12 years ago. It's something where there's so many different like doors opening, doors closing, and it's an incredible thing. It's such this transitional record for you guys in that certain capacity. But when you listen to the overall sound, again, it's In Heart's Wake, and you're gonna be just absolutely floored by it when you get a chance to listen to it. I know I keep gassing it up, but the only reason I keep gassing up is because I just think it's that good.
Thanks, dude. Thank you. Hope you don't say it to everyone. No, you would. Imagine if you start an interview. Well, your record's really shit, but it's nice to be talking to you today.
Hey, if I'll say if it was, I probably would honestly say that. Be like, yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of it, but it's great talking to you. But no, that's not the case.
That's good.
That is not the case, but still, it was really cool being able to go through this. And when it came to working with Josh, when it came to creating this, especially bringing a little bit of a heavier sense to this overall record with your unclean vocals and really amplifying those throughout the record, how did the whole entire writing process for this come to fruition? Going back to Michigan, I believe you guys did it in the winter too, so super duper cold, dark all the time. Just how did you guys put this whole entire thing together with Josh to really create this sound that is going to be on Incarnation that everyone's going to get to hear and be like, holy shit, this is awesome.
Oh man. Well, look, I think we took a good year of writing on and off to try and get some good demos together. We hadn't fully decided that there wouldn't be any clean singing. Like we didn't actually know, we wanted to do it going forward as a 4-piece, but we didn't know how melody, like what corner. We didn't want to put ourselves in a corner, so we're open to whatever would happen. But like heavy stuff was the obvious. We can do that. We can get away with that. Like that's us. So look, we took all of that and we went to Josh. I think we probably had 8, 9, 10 like different ideas that fully fleshed out ideas, mind you, but we knew that we were still missing like what was like a couple of songs that would really fill out the record. So it was a bit of like, we weren't like fully confident going into Josh, I'll be honest. We did our best, we did all our homework, but this was new. This was like, we're going into a new exam that we'd sort of like, we'd studied for it, but like we hadn't had all the teachers. We're just trusting ourselves. It was but like, what the hell do we do here? This is new. So look, Josh was just like really, really helped to ground it and be like, all right, I think we're missing this. And so like working with him, we're able to find those pieces out. And look, I think we did like, we might have done 14 or 15 songs. Because we wanted to cut the best 11 with the tarot cards that made sense with the lyrics to really fill in those gaps. We didn't just want to we wanted the best songs, but we needed also the themes to match too. So it was a bit of a puzzle. But we came away with the best 11 and we worked, without giving too many spoilers away, we worked to flesh it out. We worked with some of Michigan's best, let's just say, guest vocals and obviously Josh. to round out one of those points that we didn't plan for that. That was in the last week. It was like, what if we did this? And it was like that, and that just became like a star on the record. That was like, we needed that. So we had to allow space for this shit to just happen, like, and it was risky as hell, happening on the spot. But we needed to allow that space, and being in a dark winter, as you said, we're used to sunshine pretty much all the time. Like we put on weight, and like we didn't get to move around much. We went from the sleeping in a basement, like literally, to recording in a basement with a car trip in between every day. And we had 3 days off across 7 weeks, I think it was. We did like 3 days off because we were just down. We were there. Like we weren't, we were there to make it happen, nothing else. And that was really clear. Like, not that we don't love Josh, but it was like, we don't really want to be here, like other than to do this thing. Like there was no luxuries we wanted other than to make a record. It's about the last place on earth you'd go to make a record is like, let's be honest, Michigan in the winter. But that's what was required to make the heaviest, darkest, and most full-on record that we couldn't have done any other way in hindsight. It was almost like method acting, if you would.
That makes sense, and I know exactly what you're talking about with those winters too, because where Michigan lies in the United States, there's a nice lake called Lake Michigan that's on the west, like just on the western border of Michigan. I live on the other side of that lake, so I know exactly what it's like to live in those winters where it's you wake up in the morning, it's dark outside, you go to work, it's dark outside, then you go to work, you work a full day, you leave work, and it's still dark outside. You don't get to see sunlight for, maybe weeks at a time. But of course, not as bad as like Alaska, where sometimes it's completely dark 100% of the time. However, the one thing I liked about what you guys did with that, especially when I hearing that story, is going in there, having those fleshed out ideas for a couple of songs, but still having this openness to like what's going to happen. We're not sure. And being just open to whatever was going to come up in the recording process, working with Josh as well. It's a brand new thing. But especially when it comes to a brand new incarnation of the band and a brand new style that you're really working towards, bringing a heavier focus on it, you're not sure exactly where it's going to lead you, but having the openness to work with Josh, to work in that environment, to really take hold of it and see where the influence is going to come get you. It could be scary to do that, essentially what feels like on the fly, but you're getting the most genuine, like, interaction you can within yourself, with the band, with your surroundings, so that you are absolutely in the mindset and the emotional feel of what you're trying to talk about, what you're trying to go for, what sounds are going to amplify those overall emotions, and then bring that onto the record so that when you're back at home, when you're back in the sunshine, when you're enjoying everything once again, and you listen to this, it hits just as hard as it did back when you were recording it, back when you were in the colder style, colder temperatures, darker feels, and in this place of, at times, uncertainty, but now feeling knowing exactly where it is. It's like, man, you must have absolutely hit it perfectly with that kind of combination, no matter how much fear went into it, just not knowing what was going to come next.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Look, Josh and I always we talk about movies, film analogies all the time. Like when we're like, what is this color? Like, what's the soundtrack? We always use these analogies when we're like painting worlds, both in the lyrical world and the colors that are happening. And like I said, the method acting, like we really did go there for this. And yeah, it wasn't easy. It was a real challenge. Like it's the hardest record I've ever been part of. And that's because I had to do my vocals on 15 tracks, as opposed to sometimes I get away with, half of that, or because I've got Kyle to bounce. So there was that element. But there was also this element of like, I can't just get it done. Like, getting your job done, like I had to go above and beyond in order for this to work. And so I was pushing myself to be better, to try new things, and that was really not hard, really hard for me, because like we were jet lagged, the sleeps were crap. I was sleeping on some air mattress, like in a basement. So it wasn't like this, like it was also a privilege to be there. So mind you, there's this expectation. This is an opportunity, but I think like all of those things, yeah, it played into the swirling, like the uncertainty, the fears, but it played into the hunger. And there was so much hunger and desire to like not prove it to fans or bands or whatever. It was actually prove it to ourselves. That was the big element, that we could do this together, and that we owed it to ourselves and the legacy of In Heart's Wake to, if we're going to like maybe this record doesn't even come out, whatever, like let's just let it be what it needs to be. And let's just let it be this bookend thing that we had always wanted to do, finish the tarot. Like like there's 22 cards. We've done 11. We'd always left 11 wide open, knowing that we wanted to return to it at some point, or a desire to if it was the right time. And this being the perfect opportunity in transition to like hint at the old, but hint at the new, the divination to the incarnation. So it was all like looking back, it's all absolutely perfect and as it is. But when you're in it, it is so yeah, like am I controlling this? Like, wait, I've got a choice here. Like, what choices am I making? And there was a really important element to why this record, what we felt successful at the end, like completion and a wholeness to like we did the work, guys, was every week we actually did like a check-in, like where we'd sit in a circle, which sounds kind of like a bit hippie-ish or whatever. But like every week shit comes up, man. Like dude's been bottling stuff up, how like, no, this was my song and you like just slammed it down. So anyway, every week we'd sit there for like a good hour, have our coffee and tea, and we'd have like a way to like a talking stick, like just it was I think it was, I don't actually remember what it was, to be honest. I think it was whatever. It was just something that we passed. Everyone had a chance to say their piece, and that was critical to this record because it allowed everyone's truths to come through. And actually, I was recognizing that people were feeling the same way I was feeling, and I didn't even know it. And I was just bottling this stuff up about how I felt about something. And so that, just to give someone insight, that connection that we all then connected upon of like, wow, that's where you're really at. And I really see you now, allowed us to then step like with more trust and more togetherness as a team to attack that next week with like a sense of like, wow, like there's no masks here. Let's be real, you know?
Yeah, it's
So
like
anyway.
attacking it with like a renewed sense of energy and a renewed sense of purpose because you have that positive connection going with the rest of your band members and the rest of your friends as well, knowing that they're dealing with some of the same things you are and understanding where they're coming from and them understanding where you're coming from and where you're feeling so that you create that bond, you create that connection, you create that trust even deeper with each other, especially when you're in that creative process or in a basement in Michigan creating this stuff in the dark. It's something that it sounds like like any band should probably do something just like this if you're recording because it gets people closer together. And I still think about all the times, you brought up the talking stick, like going back to when you're in school or when you're, in some sort of like youth group or something. It's like, okay, we're going around, whoever's a talking stick can talk. It's like taking that concept, but, instead of just making it so it's the other kids are quiet and being respectful, it's so that you can actually be open and honest with each other and create a much stronger bond so that the creative process for this and that willingness to continue to work with each other and trust each other on these different ideas continues to be so strong that the best ideas come out, the most connected ideas come out. You work with them, you put them together, you record them, and you get the best overall creative output that you possibly can for exactly what you want. Honestly, every band should do something like that when they're recording because it just makes sense to me mentally.
Yeah. Again, and it can't be like it's good not to force it. And sometimes there was resistance even in myself. It's like, oh, here at the week, and there's an expectation to like be real or to share. Like there's like, but like if we just were all under the agreement that we do it weekly, and we trusted that the last week it served us in some way, then we're able to like step into that space, and not just for the reason to have an outcome of bonding or trusting, because then it can be like a manufactured thing, but to actually just like legit say, I don't want to even talk about how I feel today. Like even that, like even just saying where you're at, like this is a load of crap. At least like as long as I was being honest to myself, and being real, not just using it as a mask to cover up. But then I might go, oh shit, what did that show me about myself? That I'm actually resisting this thing that I know is helpful. But look, it's the ability to be vulnerable in front of each other. I think was the biggest thing. Like because it became our sounds a bit cheesy, but it became our strength because we could all actually see each other and witness each other. Even if I didn't have something to say, it was like witnessing someone else's thing. And I know we're getting sort of caught up on this theme here, but look, if we're going to go to these dark places to talk about real things in music or in art, we have to be, willing to actually be those things in front of the people that we love or spend a lot of time with. And it's just so important for the mental aspect. Like it was in terms of mental health, like we were at a bit of a, like it was a bit of a low. It was really like winter depression was there. We're eating a lot of, there's no there's no serotonin, there's no movement. Like it was grim. I was like, wow, we feel like we're a man down. This doesn't feel like we've got this new person in the team. It was like, no, we're missing someone. Like, so to a degree, like, yeah, it really lifted and buoyed us up in a different way, in an unsuspecting way. So yeah, I encourage, yeah, any teamwork. Like it's actually, especially men. I think a lot of women will like, I think my partner will tell me, like, women talk all the time. They share what they're going through. They just get it out. Like, and whereas us men, I mean, I've been in many green rooms and many backstage things. We are, often it's like, no, I'm all good. Like, I've just been to the gym, like, just got a tattoo. Whatever we do, like we've got our releases, but we don't actually sometimes say, because the other man doesn't, it can be awkward for the other man to be like, how do I respond to that? Like I'm not, like how do we, so I think as men, it's really important. Like, and the mental health is so big in music scene too, like with people that take their lives or through substance, or heck, it can be through so many different ways. Addiction, like, I see it all the time. But for men to actually say where they're at and be witnessed, it's like a powerful, powerful thing. Yeah.
I think you absolutely hit the nail on the head with that one. Think about it from just, the perspective of someone who also lives in that same kind of realm of, the cold where winter gets kind of shut in. When you're connecting with your friends, it's just like, oh, I'm just happy to see them out, or just happy to go by their house. And it's like, oh man, you good? Yeah, you good. Let's just hang out. Let's just have a good time, because we all have different issues we're dealing with. We all have different problems. And our mindset is we don't want to bother each other with that, due to the fact that, who wants to talk about that? We're here together, and let's just have a good time. But if especially when you're in that creative process, or just not in that creative process, but you need to have that conversation for your mental health, it's something that absolutely has to be done so that you can get this stuff out there. And your friends, if they're going to be your friend, if they're actually your friends, they actually care about you, they will listen to you. They will take account exactly what you're thinking about, what you're feeling. And even if they don't know how to respond, at least they're going to be there for you, for them to listen and at least give you that support in some regard. And even that minimal thing will give you so much more confidence, because not only does someone know, but someone you trust knows, and they're going to be there for you to help you out. And if they respond, and if they're able to respond in kind to relate to it and help you through it, help build you up, then you get to see that person, you get to see yourself get better. The bond becomes stronger. And for your mental health, you're just in a much better place overall. The serotonin in your brain starts really rolling. And even when those darkest days, you can actually have one of the happiest days you possibly can. It's an incredible thing. And you're right, a lot more men should do this in some capacity with the people they trust, because if we don't do it, we just bottle things up. And I'm guilty of it too. Bottle things up, and then just kind of all comes out in one big burst, and that's never a good thing.
No, it's not. Yeah, we often, I think that I'm bothering people, quote unquote bothering, but actually, like, it can be a gift to someone else for them to hear you be vulnerable and be like, oh wow, like I can actually be of service, and it actually lifts them up, because they feel like you're trusting them to tell them something, and they're also there to give some sort of feedback or no feedback. Sometimes it's just someone to talk to. So yeah, just, it's not always a bother. And also, you know what? Sometimes it's easier to be real and authentic in front of strangers than it is the people you trust or know. And so that's another thing. Like, there's all kinds of circle work, like the Mankind Project, I think, in the US. There's all kinds of things out there. Some people they see a psychiatrist, or there's just lots of ways to just share. But I think more often than not, the things that I've ever gone through, I think that I'm going through them alone, but 9 out of 10 other people actually are going through the same things. We're just not talking about it. Until we do talk about it, we're like, oh wow, okay, like it's not actually like, the elephant in the room. It's like, oh no, that's a thing, and that's okay, and like it's just it becomes so much less of a thing. So anyhow, it was a tough record. Coming back to the record, really challenging. And just really in like a dark, heavy place, thinking that, not good enough. Like how do we strive for more? No perspective, but talking it out and sharing. We really able to hold each other through that and create something that I feel is timeless and important for the band. Yeah.
It's timeless and important for the band, and it's something that, especially sonically, I think is rather remarkable, especially with all the great music that we're hearing. Now, I was thinking about this question. I'm like, I want to ask you this, but I'm going to twist it up a little bit, because I usually ask people like, okay, we have a couple of singles out in the record. Out of the non-singles, which one is your favorite? But it's like picking your favorite children. But I got a different way I'm going to go about it. Was there a song on this record where you did something vocally that you were really, really proud of? And if so, what is that song and what did you do that where you were like, man, I'm really proud of what I did?
Yeah, Transmission, the final song on the record, the Transmission. And the reason for Transmission, it was like the dark horse that maybe when we in demo phase was not going to make the record. But as soon as I heard the chorus musically, the 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 vocal line, where do I belong when the ones I love are gone? Um, it just like it sung to me that there was this angst and there was this yearning and this longing for someone who was feeling that loneliness of what happens when all your parents die, like like what happens when the people are gone. And I didn't overthink it. It was just like, okay, let's perform it. And that song came to life in a way that was like with such ease, unlike some of the other songs which had to work harder for, to find the fury, to find the rage, or to find the uniqueness, whereas this was just an expression.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as it had the vocals, we showed it like it was shown to the rest of the group, and it was like, oh, I get it now. Like it's not just like it's like in a whole different context. And then everyone was just like, yeah, like this needs to be on the record. This needs to be the way that we close the record. So I'm really proud of the chorus, and so there's sort of a longing in I feel in the vocals or the voice that isn't so much like hitting notes and like trying to be all tricky and like great technique. It's just like you can hear the desperation where I was at. And look, backstories, that recording that and writing that was at the same time that Ika Darville, who he is the star of our debut film clip to Divination. He's in the Traveler film clip. He's a Jamaican Australian, and he's in there. And he's actually in Vampire Diaries. He's in the new Planet of the Apes. He's an actor now. Anyway, I went to school together. One of my best friends, and his eldest son had just passed away of a really, really rare tumor, basically brain cancer, so to speak. And he was like 11 years old, this kid. And it was really profound what was happening, because the whole community was rallying together, raising money so he could have the best treatment. And I'm in the studio, and his funeral's literally happening over in California. And I'm trying to look at flights, going, how can I get there and back? But it would have sabotaged like this last week of the record. And Ika's like, it's a funeral, and I'll record it. Like, it's beautiful to be there, but like you need to make this thing. Like, so that I poured that feeling into that song Transmission, and that was this longing of like Ika losing his son, his firstborn son, and then also the spirit of his son not being alone but like moving on. And there's this like this loss, if I put, yeah, and that's Transmission. And there's something coming through.
Yeah, I'll say, because especially in this song, when I was listening through it, just the way your vocals ran through it, you could hear that aggression, and you could just hear that overall angst and anger coming through it. That really speaks to, when you lose somebody in your life, when they pass on and they're no longer here, and you're wondering, what are we going to do without this person? What are we going to do without their presence? But it's the exact opposite when you listen to the guitar tone on this, because it had this more upbeat, lighter, higher tuned, progressive riff behind it that really showed a little bit more of that like positive, yes, there's somebody that might be gone, but it's kind of like their memory lives on, their spirit lives on in you. And you can take that with you and continue to make it more of this positive experience for your life as well, and continue to make their positive legacy continue to impact people. It reminded me of like keeping the aggressive positivity in this song in a much different way than we've seen with someone like with Beartooth's last record. But it was a way that was, the guitar tone and the progressions of it and the vocals were so different, but the contrast of it pulled out the absolute best in both. So that is why, that, especially as an ending song for this record, this stood out so damn well.
Thanks, Sid. Yeah, it's a melodic journey. Yeah, it's melodic, and we tried something new. Yeah, it's almost in the I'm just doing flashbacks of the bands we used to listen to when we were teenagers. Whether it's Have Fart, Misery Signals, or like it's got that melodic yeah, and you can slip into awkwardly positive. You can slip into that world, but there's a real story happening where it didn't, and that was always the like danger of that one until the vocals were there. It was like, oh, it makes sense. Like it's got a world that feels really real, and there was something coming through. So thanks for your feedback on that.
Yeah, it was an absolute beautiful piece to listen to, especially at the end of the record. And what was even nicer about it too was because looking through the record, you guys, when it came to overall track list and track times, this one had the longest run time. But to end the album, and especially when it comes to the idea of, Incarnation, this really set you guys up for at the end of the album of, we just went through all the heaviness that's before it. Now we get to this and we see a whole brighter future for you guys at the exact same time as well when it comes to the context of In Heart's Wake. We can still see the aggression, we can still see anger there, and we can still see, what it feels like to have a longtime member, leave the band, even though it's on good terms, but see where the band's going forward from here. And it brings forward that positivity, especially from that guitar tone, while not forgetting about the past at the same time as well. So, especially Transmission into the future, like, no matter what way you slice it, no matter what way you look at it, Transmission, the way it's made, the length of it, the placement on the album, absolutely perfect.
Thanks. Yeah, light at the end of the tunnel in some ways. A little glimmer of hope, but it also ends with the vocal line, "Where do I belong?" So it's still got a question mark around it. Like it's not fully resolved. There's this, yeah.
Yeah, not fully resolved, but do you want it to be fully resolved? Because if you had fully resolved, it's like, okay, now that's completely closed. And then where do you go from here? You guys just went through this whole entire journey of where do we go from here? And you guys put it out there in the record. You don't want to have to go through something like that again. Now it's like, well, where do we go from here? Well, the journey's not over yet. We're still going on it. There's going to be direction for this. We know what we're going to go after now, and we can expand on it in any way we want.
Totally. Well, we'll see. Who knows, man? Who knows? But like in the context of the song and the meaning of it as well, it's like we think that there's life and death at two bookends, and then it's all over. Like, and to a degree, like the physical stuff is, but in terms of like returning back to the earth force, and like, I'm not to get too spiritual here, but like there's an element of that life is infinite. Like, when when Jake passes, like this world, who knows what's going to be happening here, but there still moves on, and like, I'll be in the ashes of it all, and probably a tree growing out of my head somewhere, skull in the earth, who knows. But like it's infinite. So like we leave it unresolved because nothing really, in that sense, there's peace in that we'll never actually know, but it doesn't fully resolve and give you that, like, X equals Y at the end. Like it doesn't, it continues on infinitely into the void, and you can hear it slipping away. That song, it's kind of like this unease versus like, oh wait, no, it's nice. No, it's like this sort of drifting off into space.
Yeah, and again, exactly what the album needed at the end. There was okay, so a lot of the songs in here, I was like, these are awesome. This is insane. I cannot wait for you guys to come and tour over here in the US so I can see this live and I can jump in the pit for these and go absolutely ape crazy. There was one specific song that I listened to. I'm like, okay, if there's any song that's got to be played live that I cannot wait to throw some people around to, it's this one. And it was Mishigama. Holy crap. Like, my God. I thought that was just beyond possible. It was something that I haven't heard in quite a long time, the mix you guys put in there, but just I was like, wow, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, well, we can what we can say to that is that, yeah, Mishigama is from my studies, like, and looking up the history of Michigan, that's where Michigan State derives its name from, Mishigama, which was the like, I believe it was the like indigenous, I don't know, it was the Ojibwe, but I might have pronounced that wrong. I'd have to look it up specifically to which clan, which tribe, but indigenous peoples. It meant like land of the Great Lake, essentially. And so, the name, I love that it was a name derived from such a beautiful word. It's kind of close to it, Michigan, rather than it just being like, just some, I'm not going to name a state, but you know what I mean? Yeah. It's got that music to it. There's a music to it. And after, was it 5 records in Michigan that we've recorded, let's just say that, it's a collaboration of our friends from Michigan and all the people that have like really looked after us in such a beautiful way. Like the hospitality of the Michiganders is just like next level. The amount of dinners and roofs and cars they've lent us so we could make our music it's just been like profoundly like it's just beautiful actually. It's like it's a family. So yeah, and the toughness that you feeling of the song and the my God,
Mhm.
like that's the strength. That's the strength that I feel of the people, which are like, it's an interesting state because if you've been there, like parts of it are flat and bleak, and that's where recording. It's not pretty, and you've got to have a sense of grit and strength to get through like life there. And you often find I think they find their joy in their community and how they band together. So like they're like Wolverines in a tough winter that they just endure and they really band together. And that's the spirit that came out in that song.
Say, just like Wolverines, no wonder why the University of Michigan calls themselves the Wolverines, because it just absolutely fits for that kind of nature. But what you guys produce in this song had me scratching my head wondering what the heck you guys were able to do, because that guitar riff, it stays aggressive in a more intricate metal way. But as the song goes, it just descends deeper and deeper and heavier in some sort of way, which makes it a massive standout moment on the album overall. And then your vocal style overall, it's like, there's really some like Fever 333 style vocals here, being more aggressive and so much more ballsy, even as the bridge builds up with the bass and lower guitar with the snarling, somewhat cleans but uncleans to create this new heaviness. And once the breakdown hit, I'm like, this is easily my favorite song on the album overall. It was different than what I've heard from some of the other stuff you guys have done. It was heavy. There was snarling stuff in there. It was manic, aggressive. It just had everything you wanted to show that grittiness, toughness, and aggression in a song. And especially to find that fortitude within people that just allows them to continue going and tough it out in some of the toughest conditions. You guys put it out here. Even love at the end of the song where it's just like you have the little clip of like, oh yeah, that's a banger. Like, yeah, this absolutely is.
Yeah, we can talk about that. That guy, his name's Don, and Don is the man. Is Josh the guy we recorded with Josh Schroeder? Don is Josh's father-in-law, and that father-in-law has had I think I don't know. He has the count. I don't know if it's in hundreds of bands. The amount of bands that have stayed at his house. He housed all the bands that record at Josh's. So we sleep in Don's basement and we drive to Josh's basement to record. And he's had from the likes of For the Fallen Dreams, Legend to Lorna Shore to I can't even think now, but just they've got all the bands all the way down the like the back of one of the doors in the house. You see all these little photos of all these bands. And it's Don's he's just a beautiful dude, like he's in his 70s and he's so kind. Like he wants to do your washing and your sheets every day. Like, no, Don, we do our own washing and sheets. He had to put like a line down. He's just a kind man who opens up his door to strangers that he trusts because Josh has vetted them. And so we're like, Don, what do you think of this song? Like, oh yeah, that's a banger. That's him on the end to sign it out. So yeah. Props to Don.
I was wondering where you guys got that from, but just the story behind that makes it even more incredible. Not just knowing how it connects to the overall theme of the song, overall theme of just what you guys were feeling like with Michigan, with the people around there, but to actually have someone who fully embodies that and fully embodies embracing the music scene and helping young musicians continue to grow and continue to hone their craft, record, put out beautiful music for everyone to hear. Putting him on the record by having him say that is probably the most perfect thing you guys could have done on this record overall. Just everything around there, holy shit. Now, I'm a little jealous. I'm like, damn, I wish I could have been the one to say that, but Don, you definitely deserve it, my man.
You do. He does deserve it. You'll have to have hundreds of bands stay at your house. You have to like pay the gas bill, the electricity bill, the water, unblock the toilets when the toilet blocks up. You got to do a lot of things to get that spot. So he is well and truly earned it. And yeah, thank you, Dom.
I'll say if I'm going to do that, Jake, I definitely have to get myself a bigger place because I live in the upper half of a duplex and it's the room I recorded and then I have a kitchen, a bedroom, and then a bathroom with a slanted ceiling where if I step too far back, I'm going to hit my head on the wall, on like the top of the ceiling. So
Okay.
I definitely need a bigger place where I can actually have a basement to do this. And yeah, I definitely would probably end up paying the electricity, the gas, unclog the toilets, have to do wash the sheets. Maybe not try and wash the sheets every single day, but once a week probably would end up going. You guys go record. It's like, okay, now I got my washing machine going. Next thing you guys know, it's like, oh yeah, well, your wash is done. Beds are made. There's food in the fridge. There's a warm meal on the stove. What are you doing? I got to work. Have fun, guys. Only problem is I'm going to need to find a producer that actually works around my area that's well known enough to be like, yeah, we're pulling in these bands. Like, they can stay at my house, man. I got it. We're good.
Yeah, well, it's at one point, Josh was just starting out. So, who knows? Who knows who is around the corner from you who's got what it takes. But yeah, Josh has got that hunger. He wasn't, as you said, born gifted to record a band. He's just honed it in and record after record and taken the best of what he knows and then learning. He's so open. I joke. I'm like, Josh, you're like you're like the Rick Rubin of Michigan. And he's like, he hates that. He laughed. He hates it. And then I'm like, wait, no. Rick Rubin is the Josh Schroeder of California. And he's like, yeah, that's more like it. Because he's a wizard. He's a really open wizard. He doesn't try the same thing twice, he's great like that.
Oh, that's a beautiful thing. And so, Jake, before we close out, I got two more questions for you. First thing is, of course, we have Incarnation coming out on July 12th. Following that for the rest of 2024, whatever you can tell us about what the plans for the band are, I'd love to hear them. Whatever you can tease us with or just give us a little bit of hope of what's to come. Whatever you can announce or let us know, I'd be loving to hear it.
Yeah, man. So yeah, we have our Australian tour in September. And that's a bit of a monster of a tour. It's got I'm going to tell you because you said this is coming out at the right time, so I can say, look, yes. It's got Paleface Swiss and King 810s on the tour. So that's Australia.
Shit.
It's going to be a monster of a tour. And then we're coming to America. So we're going to be in North America in the fall, which is, I believe let's just call it October. I think it's October 2nd, November 2nd. It's a solid, there's a whole bunch of dates. And we're main support on Miss May I's 15-year anniversary tour of their Apologies breakout record that they did 15 years ago. So they're some longtime friends of ours, and it's a great tour for us to be part of, to not have to bear the pressure of headlining there, but actually just be in a really awesome position to support Miss May I and have, we still have to play a 45-minute set, which is close to a headline set, if you will, and we get to show some new material as well as some bangers. But look, it's been 5 years since we've been to America, since Van's Warped Tour. It's well overdue. The pandemic just sort of didn't really make it possible and make it make a lot of sense to risk going over there. But the time is now. So yeah, that's a year essentially is reestablishing and you're putting our flag over there.
Oh, I cannot wait to see that happen. And I already know, I'm going to be waiting for the announcement for that when it fully comes out, because we're recording this before the announcement has been made. So once an announcement gets made, I'm like, please make sure that a date that's near me is on a date that I'm not actively already going to a show, so I can absolutely make this. Though there's only one show, I'd be like, okay, there's no way that I'm skipping that one. But otherwise, I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to skip that. I'm going to make sure I go see In Heart's Wake, because this was an absolute banger, and there is no reason to give it to some other band. No, we got to go see this. I know there's going to be a show around me somewhere within at least 2 hours drive time. Just depends upon which city and when.
Yeah, no, you'll find out pretty soon. I think a matter of a couple of days, I think it gets announced.
Oh,
so you better plan ahead and get work off.
Even if I can't get work off, I'm still showing up.
Yeah, just call in sick. You'll be right.
I'm just going to show up anyway. I'll just, I'll work that day. I'll show up after work. I'll come home. I'll get a little
sleep. In the day. So you're fine. You can go to the shows at night. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. All right. I got one more question for you, Jake. It's something I love to ask every artist I bring on, because it allows us as music lovers to get to know more new music and get to know more of the music that you love. So I like to limit this to 3. Can you give me 3 artists or bands that you absolutely love right now that you would love to see more people get into in the rock and metal world or overall in the music world?
Well, I don't know if that I can't say that they're undiscovered because I'm not here to break more. So I would like to say I could break more bands that I've just discovered that are really new and upcoming. But unfortunately, I haven't been playing on on the scene as much and witnessing that lately because there hasn't been a lot of touring, and that's usually where I discover like, wow, this band that's open were amazing. But like, look, if people aren't down with King yet, or like, just King 810 can I hear that like contentious. Oh yeah, but like being firsthand to witnessing like David's creativity and how he actually like one takes a lot of his stuff and if it's not feeling it, he won't do it. Like he waits for that. Like he's got I don't want to say a gift, but he's just the real deal with his art and how he approaches it. And I really respect that from artist to artist. So King 810, like I love the colors that he's explored on his stuff. It's not all like super heavy. He doesn't see it's just wild. So yeah, check King 810 out again and some of their EPs. Everyone's gonna know their original, not their original, their breakout stuff that was on Roadrunner and whatnot. But yeah, really enjoying that. Paleface Swiss, who I mentioned before, like they're another band that seem to be doing some laps right now, and they've just been just relentlessly heavy, cool vocal patterns. I think they're going to make some tracks. Who else? Fire out. There's so many bands. Like I've got to look at my Spotify. I don't have all day to do this, but
oh, don't worry. There's the amount of people that whenever I ask this question that look at Spotify is about more than half at this point. So you're definitely in the majority with that.
I think like there's a few. I don't know what that fully like. I mean, I like a lot of bands with message and that thing, and something that all these bands do, but just in terms of like sound and like there's something creative. I think Josh would show me like no face, no case. I think they were called like they were just like this really creatively like it was like what am I watching? But it's like it's good. So they were another interesting one. And Show Me the Body, I think, or another. I think that's their name. Show Me the Body. Pretty sure they got the. I'm just gonna make sure I got that name right. They're from Brooklyn. Yeah, Show Me the Body, exactly. Yeah, they're sick, like full punk, hardcore. Really, just I feel like they're a band you have to see live to like, oh my god, they've got something that like doesn't always translate on record, but they're really original. So look, there's a lot of cool shit, and seems to be a lot of it. Like, there's a lot of American really cool stuff that I'm actually feeling like in Europe we're seeing like, this is the age of Europe we're stepping into now. Where I think there's a lot of weird, cool stuff that's like European, um, where like America's pretty saturated. Like it's been in like that sort of sell stuff, and it's very popular. Some amazing bands, very talented. But in terms of the weirdness and like the different approach, I think we're going to start seeing a lot of European acts come through and bring something refreshing to the scene.
Oh, I really hope we do too. I just hope a lot more bands come and bring more great music to the scene like you guys are going to with Incarnation when it comes out on July 12th. So as we bring this podcast conclusion, I'm going to end it with 3 things. First things first, Incarnation by In Heart's Way comes out on July 12th, 2024. They're going to be touring in Australia. They're going to be in the fall. They're going to be touring in the US in the fall as well. You're not going to want to miss out on it. So the best thing you can do to stay in contact and make sure you have all this at the ready is go to the script of the podcast where it says find In Heart's Wake online. Links and labels for everything are going to be there, from social media, YouTube, where you can pre-order the album, where you can stream it when it's ready to go, where you can pre-save it, where you can get some merch, and where you can get tickets for those shows when they drop. So it's all going to be down there for you. You have no excuse not to get into the band and follow along with them. It's all down there, so go and do it. Now it's time for number 2. Jake, whenever he gets to the podcast, I absolutely enjoy having on. I tend to make a certain promise, a way to say thank you, and I would love to continue supporting in the future. So my promise to you is this. When you come back to the US and when you play live with Miss May I, at the show I get to go to, at some point in time, I'm going to look for you. I'll find you. I'll say hi. But the promise is, first round's on me.
Sweet. Don't know if I'm a big drinker at shows, but I'm sure someone will take the beer. You have to buy it from a merch person.
Hey, it doesn't matter if it's a beer, if it's like a water or Red Bull or something. I'm down with it. It doesn't have to be an alcoholic drink.
That's kind of you. I appreciate it, mate. Yeah, or we just get some epic. How about like a French fries or something? Something we'll get something with a tiny bit of nutrition.
We can do that. Something with a tiny bit of nutrition. I like that. Now it's time for Now it's time for number 3. I cannot end this by saying goodbye because this was a hell of a lot of fun. I made a promise to you, so I'm gonna make sure I keep on that promise of some sort of something nutritious, and as well as I don't want to speak the only time you're on the podcast. I would love to be on again in the future. So this cannot be goodbye, Jake. This is I'll see you later.
See you down the road.
Well, folks, I'm interviewing Jake from In Heart's Wake, and now it's time for Kevin's final thoughts. So when I think about this album and when I think about this, I absolutely love it. I love the heaviness they brought forward here. And I love that they took the exact same approach that We Came as Romans did by not replacing Kyle, by creating something that is just like them and expanding on it from what is currently there and how they came up with it, how they created it, and by literally going through the method acting route of it. Putting themselves in the winter in Michigan to record this, working in multiple different basements, and the way they went about it too, the whole entire connective points, the living in that realm of what you want to talk about, connecting all of this back to the album Divination, which came out back in 2012, and checking in with each other every single week as band members to make sure that everyone is on the same page, that everyone is heard, and you continue to build up on that camaraderie and make sure you can create that positive notes of mental health. Because in a time like this, when you're working on an album that is this massive and is this pivotal to the band's success, you want to make sure that you are as connective as possible, as strong as possible, not only as men, but as people and as a collective group of band members. And I think they absolutely hit on it. Wait till you see where some of these features came from. I will not spoil them. I'm looking at the names right now and I'm just like, you guys are going to love some of these. They are fantastic. Wait for the song Mishigama. That is probably my favorite song on the record. But also the final song, Transmission. Such a beautiful piece of work. Make sure you go and check it out and check them out when they're in the United States or Australia touring. Go to the podcast below where it says Find In Heart's Wake online link symbols for everything going to be there. So go check them out. Pre-order, pre-save Incarnation. You have to go and do it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the Chord Progression Podcast right down here on YouTube and hit us follow on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Brand episodes every single Tuesday and Thursday and Friday reactions on YouTube as well. Hit the like button, help push in the algorithm. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, links below. Jake, thank you so much. And first round of something nutritious on me when you come play with Miss May I in October. So on that note, that's what you guys think for listening to the Chord Progression Podcast. My name is Kevin, and you guys know how I end every single one of the big, healthy, and hearty. See ya! Yeah!